Sara Wiseman is directing a new play. It's at the Basement Theatre and it's called Danny and the Deep Blue Sea. It's set in the Bronx and it's about two beautiful but dysfunctional society misfits. Sara is here to tell us about it. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So the Basement, let's begin with the dates, because
Yes.
that's always good to know.
Always good to know. Yes, we open next week and we preview on the 22nd, which is our first studio audience, so to speak, and we go right through until September 2nd. So it's actually quite a short season. There's only 2 weeks.
It sounds like an interesting play, but before we get to it, in my research, you of course have played in it. So as well as directing, you've lived it. Tell us about the earlier reincarnation of this, or incarnation.
Yeah, well, I suppose it was in 2004, about 13 years ago now, and I fell in love with the play when I first saw some actors actually working in exactly the same space, which is now the Basement. Then it was called the Jeffrey James, and I bought it and shared it with a great friend and great director friend of mine, and we put it up in 2004.
Who was?
That was Caroline Balbooth.
Yes.
And Scott Wells played the Danny to my Roberta, and that was then called the Silo Theatre then. So it's kind of bringing it back full circle, and now I'm in the director's chair and bringing two wonderful new actors, Jodie Hillock and Frank Burrell, to the stage, and they are portraying their Danny and Roberta.
It's quite beautiful having these different reincarnations of a piece of theatre, because theatre intrinsically is really different every night. But when you've done a season a decade ago, or over a decade ago, how is the perspective for you, actor now director? What's it feeling like?
It's been amazing, actually. It's amazing how all the words are suddenly right there again. That's kind of bizarre, but it's wonderful to have a seat outside looking in and seeing these two beautiful actors grow together and shift together and take this wondrous play, this beautiful text, to a whole other place in their journey of it and their experience of it.
It's demanding of you though, isn't it? You have to let go of every way you've done it before. You cannot be doctrinaire about it.
Well,
you have to allow them to explore.
Oh, absolutely. My job is to honour the playwright first and foremost, and to honour that text.
Tell us about the Pulitzer-winning playwright.
Yeah.
He's terrific.
John Patrick Shanley is probably one of my favourites. He's up there with Tennessee Williams and Arthur Miller in my mind.
That's high praise. I think Arthur Miller too.
Yes.
He's got a tremendous way of capturing human beings and foibles and weaknesses and strengths.
And he's from the Bronx himself, so he has a wonderful kind of musical score to his writing. There's no extraneous fluff. It's very compact and economical when you honour it, which I'm all about. For the text, he just sings, and it's got that beautiful dialect of the Bronx as well.
The Bronx has that anyway, doesn't it? They have something with their languaging. But let's go into the story of it, which he captures in this wonderful way with his dialogue. The story is the layered complexity of human relationship in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of relationship plays.
Yes.
I go to the theatre to be affected and to be moved and to kind of come out theatred, I suppose, be shifted in a
I'm
way.
the same. I love to be thinking about it in the next couple of days.
And have a conversation.
Oh, wow, I hadn't thought about it like that. So this is what you're bringing out from these layered, complex characters.
That's important for me, is that's a conversation starter.
Same. So tell us about the story. They have this incident from long ago in a long forgotten bar.
Well,
as so many of us do, and something revisits them.
Exactly. They're two strangers. They meet in a bar. They are society misfits. They don't really fit in, so they're carrying a lot of stigma and baggage and a history of guilt about their past. They're very much carrying their past into the world, which I think we all kind of do at certain points in our lives.
I've known that at times.
And they in a very down and out bar, so it's pretty empty in there, and they strike up this conversation, which is a little bit battered and defensive to begin with, and then over the night the defences fall away between them, and they realise they have so much in common, and they go back to Roberta's house, to her room, I should say, and spend the night together and give each other permission to be another version of themselves, which is just the most beautiful experience to see them in the first scene, very, very defensive, and now very vulnerable and fragile and funny. Just so much humour in there as well. So, and then the rollout of that on that roller coaster ride the next morning, we see what happens to them when in the bold light of day, where they go. Yeah.
I just got goosebumps when you said that place that humans can go to where they strip off all of the walls that are keeping themselves imprisoned and just be who they are.
And it's all in 75 minutes. I mean, it's really fast, but he takes them on such a journey. It's such a gift for an actor to do it.
So as a director, how do you see your role? Is it to simply nurture what these intelligent actors of yours are themselves discovering each rehearsal and each interaction on, or is it to guide and be a little bit more directive in terms of this is what I want? How do you do that?
Both. It's definitely both, for sure.
Because they'll be discovering, the actors will be growing a lot through the rehearsal, I imagine, are they?
Yeah, absolutely. The shifts are huge, and because it is such a demanding piece for an actor, it's a marathon, both physically and emotionally every night. So I need to make sure that they feel confident they can hit those highs and lows and feel safe and supported with each other and with me. And it's about nurturing and encouraging out the best I can of them, and just along with the vision that I kind of have that I want to put forward as well.
I love that. I've often thought directing would be a fascinating, you say the observer in you is coming forward, it would be a fascinating art form, but you also have to bring out the very confidence that will enable these actors to bring out their best.
Yeah, that's
and that's such a subtlety there. To I think great directors have such a subtle touch, really.
Yeah, I'm in even more so now in awe of directors. I've worked with quite a few now, and you know they've all got their flavour of working. And
who are some who you admire? Who are some of the ones?
There's so many wonderful, both Kiwi and Australian directors, both in screen and theatre. And it's quite interesting how a lot of actors actually move into that realm as well. It's like a natural progression in writing and such. So yeah, each one that I've kind of worked with has gifted me really important messages, and so it's nice to be able to glean from that, but also I guess bring your own flavour to it and go, if I was there, this is what I feel I would respond to. There was a wonderful mentor of mine from America actually that was pivotal in bringing this play back to me, which was a guy called Larry Moss, who kind of tours the world and works with all the big names in America and stuff, and he's one of the most generous teachers / directors I've ever seen work with actors. And so having been, I guess it was kind of watching him and either participating in his workshops or auditing his workshops where I got the courage to actually get up and kind of take on the idea of being a director.
I think that's wonderful. Did you go to America for those workshops?
No, he came to Australia. Yeah, he visits Australia quite often with a company called the 16th Street Studio. They bring him in and he works with a lot of actors.
And you suddenly felt, I could do this. I feel excited.
I didn't know if I could do this, but had the courage to actually push against that balloon and go, no,
the balloon being
grow some. Get out there, other people do it, so yeah.
Have you had many times in the rehearsals where you think, I really don't know where I'm going with this?
I mean, I think that's really important to not have it locked and loaded from the get-go. I have a vision and I have an idea and I have a feeling of what I want to create. But if I'm shutting down, I need to take on board their offers and see out of that you can actually find something even more interesting. So it's definitely a collaborative process. And
gosh, it's interesting talking like this. You know, often I talk to the actors and you realize how collaborative they have to be, how organic, how brave, how vulnerable, how open to the offerings. But of course it's a three-way.
Yeah.
Because the director has to be as brave, as vulnerable, as humble. Are you finding your young actors are really responsive? Tell us a little bit about the actors and finding the depth of these complex characters, because it's a lot. What ages are they?
So Frank Morella's 29 and the character's 29. I don't know how old Jodie Hillock is.
It doesn't really matter. I mean,
but
in terms of
she's
life
playing
experience.
31.
Yes.
But you know, she looks 31, so that was a priority because their ages are stated in the play.
Yes.
I have to acknowledge that, and I'm such a fan of both of them. They're both extremely brave, courageous actors. Like, they are willing to put it all out there for each other. They're very generous, they're very humble, there's no divas whatsoever, which in this piece you just can't have. And that was very much when I was casting it, Frank was the first person that came to my mind, and I'm a huge fan of him. He's a new emerging actor, so this is a big step for him.
Where had you seen him before, Sara?
He's a graduate from the Actors Program, which is a drama school that I co-founded and on the board with. I found his emotional range and his honesty and his integrity very powerful, and his generosity with his actors. And he brings such a quality to Danny because he's from South Auckland himself, and the Bronx is a pretty tough neighbourhood, so he understands Danny and the tough exterior that you got to have, and the keeping up appearances and a working class environment and all that kind of everything that comes with that kind of area. So it's really nice having him, and also being able to bring a Māori actor to the stage for it. I mean, he's coming across pretty Latino right now, so yeah, it works beautifully.
Yeah.
And with Jodie Halleck, she's done quite a bit of work on stage and screen. I worked with her in a TV series, tele feature called What Really Happened the Women's Vote on Kate Shepherd.
Oh, right.
So that's where I met Jodie.
Nice, yes.
And I was just really enamoured by her and her quality and her depth of range and her vulnerability and her work ethic. And she's got the right feel for Roberta as well. She's sassy and she's edgy and she's provocative, and yeah, so it's been really wonderful seeing them, two strangers come together and work so well. Yeah,
I'm intrigued by this, because also the age is relevant in this context, because you have to have had some life experience. A 22-year-old might not be able to play the layers they're having to unfold together in this play, would they?
Yeah, and also her character has a child. So there's got to be a bit of life, although what's wonderful is that they're both still living with their parents at this mature age, which says something about the characters as well. So they're an interesting mix of child, very naive child, which is where the hilarity, I guess, comes from. They're quite uneducated. But then there's this extremely amazing street smart toughness that comes with them as well.
That's wonderful. Let's get back to your career. I mean, the play sounds really interesting. Where would you love to go from here? Still the acting, still that thread of acting through your life, but develop more and more into the directing as well? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, acting's my first passion. And it's sort of, I guess it all comes from the same kernel, that creative process. But I've been doing some writing as well, so got that underway. And
writing a play?
Actually, TV series. Yeah,
very
so
good.
That side of the coin.
Any indication on what it's about? Is it about Westies? Because I think we've done Westies.
No, it's not about Westies actually. No, it's not.
It's we've done the Westie vein.
And they're doing it well. They're doing it really well. Yeah, huge fan of both the shows.
They are good, but it would be lovely to have some other aspects of New Zealand. So it's a New Zealand-based series?
It is. It is actually.
Can you give us any more clues?
I can't, because it's under option. So it's
good luck with
confidential. I would love to come back and do that.
I was just going to say, give me the guarantee you'll come back and talk about it when you've got it away and funded and you're making millions from it. Thank you, Sara.
You're welcome.
Lovely.